Okay, again, good morning. I am Devin Jenkins, our National BDPA Tech and Career Talk leader. I am a staff technical product manager in supply chain digital technology at GE Healthcare in Milwaukee. Glad to have you with us today. We're excited to hear from Ms. Anissa Lumpkin today with the Air Force, talking about some opportunities for small businesses, tech startups to get engaged with the Air Force and have some potential partnerships there. So looking forward to digging into that a bit more today. Before we jump into that, just a little bit about BDPA. BDPA is Black Data Processing Associates. Was started in 1975 as a way for those in the IT field to continue to build their careers and advance in the IT sector into leadership, and also as a way to build the talent pipeline of young children of color, especially Black children. Building up their computer programming skills and making sure we have talent prepared for the future of the tech industry as well. So 40 plus years going strong, hoping to keep going for another 40 plus. So we're glad to have you here. The BDPA Tech and Career Talks happen on the second and fourth Friday of each month. There will be a few exceptions coming up, especially next month with the conference, and then as we get into the holiday season later in the year. But we have a range of topics. We've had data and analytics, we've discussed cloud, we've talked entrepreneurship. So we have a range of topics and more to come throughout the rest of the year. But today we have Anissa Lumpkin. So let me get into a brief intro here and then we'll jump into a conversation. Let me stop sharing my screen for now. Okay, so Ms. Anissa Lumpkin, member of the Government Civilian Corps, is the lead program manager for the Air Force Research Laboratory, Air Force Small Business Innovation Research, Small Business Technology Transfer Program. She directs an over $105 million research budget focused on qualified small businesses in the nation's high-tech arena as a critical source of innovative technologies for our airspace and cyberspace force. Through a competitive awards-based program, Ms. Lumpkin leads hundreds of yearly contract efforts sponsored by Air Force organizations from across the nations. She has been serving the U.S. Air Force for nearly 20 years. Her experience service has included both active duty and reserve time in the Air Force, along with civilian time in the areas of science and technology and acquisitions. Her career began in 2001 as an active duty acquisitions officer in support of warfighter training, common operating systems, and unmanned combat air systems for the Aeronautical Systems Center. In 2009, she transitioned to a federal civil service role as an operations research analyst for the Air Force Research Laboratory. Prior to her current assignment, she was a legislative liaison, serving a two-star general commander. She assisted with all aspects of hearing preparation for senior level officials and congressional briefings, as well as analyzing, researching, and formulating official responses to requests from members of Congress, their staff, and congressional oversight committees on matters of congressional interest. There's more I can share, but I'll let her tell her story a little bit more for you. So at this time, I'm glad to have you with us, Anissa.
Thank you, Devin. Thanks so much for having me today, and just looking forward to our discussion today.
Well, we're glad to have you too. Let's jump into this. So you're with the Air Force Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Program. And if you don't know, on the call at our virtual conference next month, there will be an HBCU Collider that's focused on this event and providing opportunities for business owners from HBCUs and things along those lines to be a part of this program. So I thought it would be cool, since you're doing an HBCU Collider, just start with a little bit about your experience as an HBCU alum, how that's prepared you for what you're doing today. And you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Still on mute. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, perfect. So, I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin, which is like so I was born and raised on the campus of the University of Wisconsin because my father was an assistant dean there, and everybody just knew I was going to UW-Madison. And when I chose to attend an HBCU, I almost maybe gave my dad a heart attack, but my family was very supportive in my decision. I ended up attending Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. I wanted, so my main reason and focus was to be in an environment where I could be surrounded by Black intellectuals, Black excellence, and that's something that I definitely gained attending Tennessee State University, with small classes, small class sizes, and just being surrounded by Black people globally, all coming together and sharing that space. And one thing, when I got to college, I always thought I wanted to be a dentist, right? Like all my life, I'm like, I'm gonna be a dentist. And then I got there, and the it's just something about it that it just wasn't resonating with me. And I was talking to my father, who's a great influence on me in my academic life, and he's like, well, you should take this leadership class, right? And so I signed up for the leadership class, and this leadership class turned out to be Air Force ROTC. Like, so you signed me up for the military, but no. So not having had any experience with the Air Force, my family's not really, a big military family. We have a few that were Marines or Army, but I was really the first one to kind of enter this Air Force officer track. And I really thrived there. Just our it's Detachment 790, and really nurtured me. I discovered my love for aeronautical and industrial engineering technology, which is what I ended up majoring in, and learned all about about the Air Force than I ever thought I would learn. And so just having gone from, I remember my first semester not doing really well academically, just feeling like I just wasn't finding the right fit for me to, really, talking to my instructors, talking to my friends, and finding friends that align to where I really thrived from that point on. Just kind of walking along campus one day, I remember thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life, to, running into, the ROTC program and really finding my niche. So you never know what you'll discover. And I think in having that small HBCU environment really helps you thrive. And just understanding that, for all students, you can come back from anything, just whatever you're going through, you can always come back from anything. And being a part of an HBCU really helps with that networking for life. I have friends for life, a strong network, and just love it. Love the entire environment there.
Yes, and I went to Miles College down in Birmingham, so I
Yeah, yeah.
definitely understand the HBCU experience. And I always tell people it's one of those things that's tough to explain. Like you just kind of have to live it. But it's when you get into this corporate world or your professional world, there's a certain kind of swagger that you can kind of have
Yeah.
about yourself coming from HBCU. You can't explain it, but if you know it when you know it.
You
So
know when you see it, right?
so kind of building off that then. Um, you came out of HBCU, you took the Air Force class, and it put you on this trajectory, to be where you're at now. So you're a woman, you're an African American, you're a military leader, you're a tech leader, you're a business leader. Um, no, there's a lot of intersectionality there. How have you been able to thrive operating at that intersectionality of those different areas? And what would you say, or what advice do you have for others that are navigating something similar?
Absolutely. So I would definitely say network, network, network. I, coming into the Air Force, and especially as a woman, as an engineering technologist, just not having, I didn't really know anything about engineering. So when I was in school, I was always like, "Oh, you're good at science, or you should go be a, the typical path, or like you should go be a doctor. You should go, do this." I had never met a woman engineer. In my life, let alone a Black female engineer. And so when I got to the Air Force, I discovered that, there's a lot that I didn't know. I wasn't I wasn't a military brat. I wasn't really familiar with the Air Force. My parents just kind of would say, you just survive, just don't go to war. Just do whatever you can. Just make sure you survive. So what I'm getting at home is totally different than the experience that I'm having. So having a strong network, I joined the Air Force Cadet Officer Mentor Action Program, where I met, some phenomenal leaders in the Air Force, from generals to colonels to even my fellow lieutenants that would, help really mold me into the officer that I became and the leader that I am today. I even took a stint I went to a Tuskegee Airmen meeting for our local Dayton chapter, and they were like, well, we're getting ready to transition and get a new president. They're like, Lieutenant LT, you're the new president. So just being put in positions to where I had to step up and be a leader, and my leaders, recognizing in me to kind of push me out there. That's really been my strong point in terms of not being afraid to take that step forward, not being afraid to take leadership positions. And I've traveled all over the country, with our Tuskegee Airmen program, conferences and national conferences. And I've met, back then a lot of them were still around and still here, and just hearing their stories and their legacy, really, really honed into me how important it is for me to be a leader and to make sure that I'm always reaching back. So, one thing I say is, professionalism is the key, and teamwork. And I always make sure that my team is taken care of, and being professional, because you're going to come across people that, are not necessarily professional or don't like the way that you look or talk or whatever it is. But, as Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high, but always maintain that professionalism, always maintain that hard work ethic, and, make sure that your numbers are tight, so that when somebody comes back around, you make sure that I have all my ducks in a row, so we can continue from that. And if there's work to be done, if there's accepting responsibility for any corrections that need to be made, understanding, giving people grace. And I think that's and just being thankful to God, and finding that balance in life as a woman. And I'm a mother, and I'm a wife, and for me, having that work-life balance, I almost say it doesn't exist, because there's going to be times in life that your family has to come first, or sometimes your work has to come first. And so finding and making sure that you don't focus too much on work and the job. I have turned down different positions to where, I said, hey, I don't think that'll be good for my family. So it's important to always find, what's going to be best for you long term, because at the end of the day, your family is what's going to be there and be most important to you.
No, I definitely can relate to that. And if you're a regular on the Tech Talks, sometimes we have a little special guest join us in here. So family is going to be family. You have to work it. Let's transition into the program itself. So just very simply, what is the U.S. Air Force Small Business Innovation Research Small Business Technology Transfer Program?
So we call it the Air Force Sitter Program for short. So it's investing in small businesses and research institutions. It is an $800 million fund. I almost refer to it as the Air Force's venture capitalist fund, where we look for small businesses and research institutions to do and help the Air Force do research and development, really hone in on our science and technology. We award contracts to small businesses to to do that R&D for the Air Force to help us meet some of our game-changing technologies. What are some things that are keeping the Air Force up at night? You know, when our warfighters come to us and say, I really need a Batman suit, or, you know, back in the day, part of our technology transfer program, the BlackBerry was kind of started through some of our small business technology transfer programs. And so this program invests in small businesses. We have really, in the Air Force, we have kind of turned around the SBIR and SITR program to help make it easier for small businesses to participate by kind of shortening our proposals, streamlining our acquisition processes, so that we can make it easier for small businesses to participate, and research institutions and underserved communities like HBCUs and MSIs to participate in the program. So we've kind of lowered the funding for the various levels. So this program has two phases initially. Phase one, we make small bets, but we make a lot of small bets. We award the small $50,000 contracts for 3 months where you're doing customer discovery, and we're helping you with that. But we make more awards so we can get more small businesses in the door. And then we make that big bet when we move to phase two, when you're doing more advanced research, making those $750K plus award levels. So it's a really great program that I am really trying to push to our underserved communities, to bring awareness about the program, because those technological innovations are out there. They're at our HBCUs and MSIs. They are at some of our, our women-owned companies, our Black-owned Latinx companies need to be at the forefront of this program. It's been around since the 80s, and the numbers are just not there. So definitely something that we're bringing awareness to. And not only that, bringing resources and training and removing any barriers to entry so that you can put in that highly competitive proposal and get selected and awarded.
So kind of building off of that, are there any success stories from past program participants you can share?
Yeah, so just last year, I was, maybe about a year and a half ago, so I was talking to the current Air Force SBIR program manager or program director, and we were kind of looking at the data, and we're like, you know what, in the last 5 years or so, we haven't had a historically Black college and university partner submit a proposal into our STTR program, which is, $100 million program a year. And I had to find out why. And so did a lot of outreach, spent the last few months rolling out an Air Force STT outreach initiative to our historically Black colleges and universities, talking to our HBCUs, talking to our Office of Sponsored Research Programs to find out what are the barriers that are keeping them from submitting proposals. So which launched this program just last year. Put together training webinars, partnered with BDPA, which has been an instrumental partner in helping us network with small businesses to find partners for HBCUs, partnering with our Apex partner, which is considered a partnership intermediary agreement. It's a free resource for anyone that's looking for resources and helping write proposals, helping navigate through that government process. And so we're trying to remove those barriers to entry, providing resources and training to help get those, and then building from there, getting feedback. We have Ask Me Anything events every month. And then coming up, we have our big HBCU Air Force Collider event, August 12th through the 13th, with partnering with the National BDPA conference. And we're always looking for even more feedback from our HBCU community, because we're not saying that we're always getting it right, and we don't want to miss anybody. And so I know that there's great work that's being done at our HBCUs from our minority businesses. And so we have some other programs that we're kicking off as well this year that I will talk about later.
So yeah, let's spend some time there. So of course we have the conference coming up August 12th through the 14th. It's going to be virtual this year. You all were with us last year for the HBCU Collider. So let's talk about what can people expect, this year. What's the event all about? How can everyone on the call here get engaged in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited to come back and partner again with BDPA for our Air Force HBCU Collider event. We have an awesome lineup. Specifically, we have Miss Angela Grayson, who is instrumental in helping businesses with intellectual property and researchers with their intellectual property. And so she's going to be one of our keynote speakers to talk about that, to provide resources to help with that. We have our leadership from the Air Force to help discuss matchmaking and networking, how to find that customer within the Air Force that's doing the work that similar work that you're doing in your laboratories or at your research institutions. We will have a career talk. So if you have students that are interested in careers with the Department of Defense or the Air Force, we have some outstanding people that work for the Air Force and Department of Defense that attended HBCUs. We will have Air Force STEM careers. So there's various paths to working for the Air Force. You can go the military path, you can be a civilian. I work as a civilian now. We have civilian careers, civilian STEM programs. We have in the Air Force, much of our workforce is getting ready to retire. So we have that big bubble gap. And so we will have people there that are instrumental in our hiring, our human resources departments to help with getting more STEM students to come and work for the Air Force. I'm telling you, we want them there. And so I definitely encourage you to come and talk about that. And it's not too soon, high school, we have summer programs, summer opportunities for students to come and work in our laboratories with our scientists and engineers, and just a phenomenal experience for those students. And they're located across the country. So with that, we'll have small business resources. You will hear from success stories within the program. In just 1 year, and so I'm really excited about this. In just 1 year since launching this program, we've had award winners that have won awards, going through our webinars, partnering with Spectral Energy, so Tennessee State University, North Carolina A&T, FAMU submitted proposals, and really excited that some of those have already received phase 1 awards. And with those phase 1 awards comes data rights for 20 years. So the Air Force, we're not in the business of making money, we're in the business of transitioning technology. And so what better partner to have invest in you to develop your research than working with the government? And so those are a lot of the resources that we're going to share with the public at the event. It's just going to be 2 days of a wealth of knowledge and information. So I highly encourage you to register to attend. You'll hear from small business professionals and leadership. We're really excited to partner with our Rome Research Lab, our Information Directorate in the Air Force Research Laboratory. They have centers of excellences that they've stood up at historically Black colleges and universities across the country. And so if your HBCU is not there, you want to get that center of excellence stood up, or you want to know, how can you, really bring your program into that sponsored research program. We'll also talk about spinouts from your graduates. So spinouts of businesses and how to link that back into the research that you're doing in the university. So just that's just a snapshot, right, Devin, of what to expect. There's a lot of great resources that you will get from the program. Hearing about the Air Force and the Air Force Research Laboratory, what are some of our game-changing technologies? What are we looking to invest in? What technology capability areas are we looking for and we're focusing in on to really help hone in on that as well?
Yeah, that's a lot. And as someone who kind of helped orchestrate the event last year, I know there's a lot that goes into it, but there's a lot that you get out of it. If you attend, there are a lot of resources and great people come aboard there. So definitely check that out. I see Lynn shared a link in the chat directly related to the HBCU Collider event. So if you want to learn more about the event, click that link that Lynn shared in the chat. We'll probably drop it in there again later on in the call as well. So as we start to wrap up this interview portion and open it up to Q&A here shortly, what advice do you have for business owners or potential participants in the program for successfully being chosen and participating?
So definitely. So let me just talk about another program that we are partnering with the Entrepreneur Center, our Dayton Chamber of Commerce, and nationally, JP Morgan Chase has even sponsored this program. It's called Project Ingenuity. Lynn will put the link in the chat there. And this program is for Black, Latinx, and women-owned businesses to go through a cohort where they will link you with and network with Air Force customers. They will show you how to compete for this non-dilutive capital funding from across the Department of Defense, not just the Air Force. And they are opening up applications. So submit your application if you're a small business or you know someone with a small business in the tech field. I definitely encourage you to apply for Project Ingenuity event. There's no funding that's going to be involved there, but they're going to show you where the money resides, right? Because that's what's important to, at the end of the day, you got to keep those lights on, right? And not only that, there's so much, we only know what we know in the Air Force, in the Department of Defense. And in order for us to keep our national security to be first in everything that we do in the United States, we need innovative ideas, we need innovators. And I know that our minority business community, our Black community is leading those efforts. We've had our first Black Tibbets award winner. So our SIPR Tibbets is like the Emmys for the SBIR program. And so just had Eric Adolphe, who will probably be one of our speakers at the conference, gives his entrepreneurship success tips for participating in the SIBR and SITR program. And then our Air Force Research Laboratory Small Business Office has various resources and toolkits for you to take advantage of the different resources. One thing that I say is start soon, start now with deciding what your set a plan of action and how and where you're going to invest your time and energy and where you're going to submit your proposals and contracts and grants. And I'm sure if you take advantage of all the resources, one thing with the Air Force, Department of Defense, we preach free. Like, we give a lot of free resources because your tax dollars are already paying for it. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of resources such as myself to, make those introductions to you, help you understand, how the acquisition process works. How does it work working with the government? And encourage your students, especially your graduate students, and the small business owners that own these technology firms. You never know what type of ideas are out there that you can leverage and focus on.
Thank you for sharing that. So at this time, I'm going to allow you all to unmute yourselves, ask any questions you have. I see Perry has a question in the chat already. So Perry, if you want to kick off the open Q&A session with your question, go ahead, and then we'll open the floor to anyone else who has questions or comments.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Perry.
Name is Lumpkin. My question's in the chat already, but basically it was, should we encourage BDPA, LISA students, NSBE students, and students from SHAPE to actually bring their resumes, and if they can focus on the entry-level opportunities and internships?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll make sure that we have a place for resumes to be uploaded. We'll share those links where students can upload their resumes to our Air Force Research Laboratory Office of Personnel. And they are, actively looking at those resumes. They're doing interviews and hiring for that. So I encourage you. I saw your question in the chat. So yes, our National Society of Black Engineers, our Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, those if you have connections to those organizations, absolutely share the information with them and have them come and attend, just to learn about the Air Force and career, and to make sure it's a right fit for them. I always say, make sure when you're going to a business, it's the right fit for you. And so just learn about our Air Force career. And I've had a wonderful time. I think that it's very rewarding, all of the benefits, all of the opportunities that I've had. And so it might be an awesome fit for another student. So yeah, absolutely they should attend.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So when it comes to like preparedness, having like a website up or having our business officially set up to look like a business, I mean, are there specific things that you would recommend that we would have together before applying?
To apply for Project Ingenuity or apply for the STTR program?
I would say Project Ingenuity, because I need to learn how to exist in this ecosystem.
Yeah, so you don't have to have a website up. It's all about, your initiative and, what you put in your application. There's webinars. You go to the website, you'll see the upcoming webinars. So no, you don't have to, go out there and start looking the part. We're trying to get you to where you are. It's training, so we're getting you up to par, or where you need to be to get that highly competitive proposal. So definitely apply.
Okay,
Definitely.
thank you.
Well, how are you doing, Anissa? My name is Luanza Quince.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. I hope you hear me well. I have a background as a researcher. I worked in chemistry and chemical engineering out in the private and public sector, as well as in higher education. I have worked as a United States General Service Administration contractor for the local Chicago Metro, as well as the state health department at the same time. So I said that for a reason. I'd like to know, how are the contracts with the military? What is the similarity between that and the U.S. GSA application process? Is there a very similar to that? That's a question I'd like to ask, because I have worked as a GSA contractor, and would like to know, in that case, is that factored in qualifying and evaluating my proposal?
Yeah, so that is a great question, awesome question. Um, as part to be eligible for the program, you must be identified as a small business, and yet we align to what the Small Business Administration says that you need to be qualified as a small business, very similar to GSA, to where you have to register in sam.gov. You have to have that DUNS number, and so those are all things that you would have as a designated small business. And we have resources that are available to help you through that application process as well. Not too difficult. What we actually use GSA to award some of our phase 3 contracts, which are contracts that are when we don't use SBIR and CIDR funding, when another acquisition program puts funding towards that SBIR company. So we use GSA to help award our contracts, and it's all in line. They're similar. We try to make our acquisition process easier, the proposal process easier for small businesses, to kind of help, bring in more companies, bring in, make smaller bets and for higher payouts in the end. But yeah, absolutely, you will find that, having that background from GSA, you'll be kind of really well versed ahead of the game in terms of what we would be looking for. But we follow a lot of the Small Business Administration states would designate you as a small business.
I see. Want to know, many of those research projects offered by the military, are you expected to be a cleared employee? Because I know, having worked as a GSA software engineer for health, I had to be a cleared employee.
You don't have to be, you don't have to have a clearance or classification for to submit your proposal or to have the phase 1 contract. When you start moving into phase 2 is when you'd have to have your approved defense approved contracting system. But as far as classification, with secret clearance, top secret clearance, or anything like that, that's not a requirement for the SBIR and CIDR program.
Okay, and lastly, I've worked, like I said before, doing research in chemistry and chemical engineering, and now I work in the IT space in software development. However, I did that for the long-term purposes of taking those newly acquired technology skills as a software engineer and bringing them back to work in both the laboratory to do research. And that being said, I used to do some work in hydrogen and fuel cell technologies for U.S. Department of Energy. I'd like to know, are you aware of any research opportunities for military in that area? Because I've done some work in some of the pioneering research back just before at the edge of the new millennium, and that's an area that I would like to revisit. That's my question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say there's 2 areas that you may find some connection to. If you can look at our Air Force Research Laboratory, our information directorate. That's where we do our cybersecurity, our IT information, software development takes place at our Rome Research Lab in the Rome, New York area. When it comes to energy development, we have our directed energy laboratory. And so they do that out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, although you can live wherever, these places are located there, but you can, if you can connect with us there. Another opportunity that we have right now to help with helping you identify, where you fit in. We have a new capability program called Air Force Air Force Technology Connection. And this connects you to Air and Space Force. Our new Space Force is stood up. And so what you do is you go to the site, and Lynn will put the link in the site there. You could do that for me, please. So there we've called our subject matter experts across the Air Force and the Space Force, and you can go there and submit your technology capability, your focus area, and we will send it out across the Air and Space Force, or in our, we gotta have an automated system. Everything is on our Air Force cloud, so it's secured. It's not something that we share with anybody other than our Department of Defense partners. And so you can go there, and so you'll get a message back from them saying, hey, yes, this is an area that we're interested in. And even if there's somebody that wants to connect with you, they will connect you to a subject matter expert in the Air Force, that's in Air and Space Force, that's interested in the areas that you are working on.
Yeah, it sounds good. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know your time is valuable. And so please anticipate receiving email correspondence with me so we can continue the conversation offline.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Great question.
Appreciate you.
I wanted to ask, do you have any products or services that you can recommend that are sought after by the Air Force, and we can get an idea of what vendors need to apply?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are various focus areas that we focus on and look for. From our autonomous air vehicles is some of our game-changing technology areas that we're looking on. Of course, cybersecurity is something that is very instrumental to our national security right now. So that's some areas that we're looking for, very innovative concepts to help us fight the fight with that. We have our munitions directorate, so we're looking at various weapon systems to help sensors, and then our aerospace systems. So anything that involves the aircraft and maintenance and maintaining aircraft, from the materials that are used on the aircraft, from de-icing to hot weather to how can we make our planes lighter, more fuel efficient. These are all areas. Also our troops on the ground, our war fighters, we have various ways we're building Batman suits for our troops on the ground to help with to ensure that they are they are equipped with what they need. Our human performance wing, we have game-changing technologies that we're looking for when it comes to training our personnel in different ways, right? So we have students now, we have employees coming now, right, that have been in front of a tablet or a cell phone, their entire lives, right, since they were probably like 1 or 2 years old. And so, we have our gaming research innovation laboratories to where we have, we're bringing in students to help us. Hey, how do we train you at a computer that would prepare you for an operational type of environment? And so those are also within our human performance wing. We're looking at, how to make sure we are enhancing our war fighters and enhancing our troops, that self-care in a technology-based application. So, hey, if you are, we have sensors are getting tired out in the field, or looking at those diagnostics of a person, and we can see it real time. How are you doing? Those are other game-changing technology areas that we're looking for, and we utilize. We partner with. That's another area where we partner with research institutions. We use football players and students that are athletes to test out some of our sensors, to make sure, like, hey, you know, if you've done a lot of work at practice or in the field, how are your diagnostics? And so they can be able to see that. So those are areas that we look for to partner with our research institutions to help us do those things. One place that you can look is follow our Air Force Research Laboratory, and to see the various areas that they are investing in and looking in. There's 9 technology directorates, and they all have different things that they're looking for. So I would definitely take a look at that.
Well, thank
Also,
you
one
very
thing
much.
that I'll mention, we solicit for the SIBR and SITR program 3 times a year. So if you miss the one coming up, it's going to come back around another 3 times a year, and with our open topics. And so one thing that we put in each solicitation are focus areas that we're kind of focused on or looking for. So you can even look at past solicitations to see, hey, what was the Air Force looking for? Because that'll kind of give you a good indication of what we're going to be looking for in the future as well. So highly encourage you to look at the solicitations. That'll give you
Appreciate it.
feed into a lot of info.
And thanks for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perry, I saw you dropped another question in the chat there. You want to bring that one up?
Oh, yes, sir. Basically, it was a dovetail on what was mentioned earlier. Ms. Lumpkin, I mentioned in the chat, it looks like that the commercial space industry is wide open for HBCUs, small businesses, and startups. And if you don't mind, ma'am, just share with us why AFRL's programs are open, innovative, and the right fit, especially for those that are looking to invest in new GPS, satellite communications, and geospatial intelligence solutions. I think one of the takeaways is our society, we've benefited from GPS as space, as that new frontier. So if you don't mind, ma'am, just share with us, again, AFRL and the right fit for HBCUs and small businesses that may be interested in SATCOM products or GeoINT solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Air Force Research Laboratory is looking to work with HBCUs. We've been working with them for years. We have grant programs. We have our minority leadership program that's managed by various program managers, where we bring in students, we bring in faculty, staff to come and work in our laboratories. So you can bring the work that you're doing at your university, bring that to our research laboratories. All of this is definitely, when it comes to industry partnerships and innovation, capitalizing on our commercial applications and making that dual use application as a military, are all ways that HBCUs can get involved. One thing, and now is the perfect time. So with the SIBR and SITR program, for years, up until a couple of years ago, we only had what we call traditional topics, where you had individual topics that were very narrowly focused in a specific area. And a lot of times when you would see they would be so narrowly focused that you already knew who was probably going to win that proposal, right? They already had someone in mind. We have opened that up for the first time now. For years, I've heard people say, well, I have this application, I have this great, everybody wants it, but I'm just having a hard time getting into the Air Force because they don't take unsolicited proposals. Where now more than ever, we have open topics to where we just give you focus areas and you tell us how you can help solve our Air Force problems. So that's about as close as you're ever going to get to an unsolicited proposal, and knowing that we are going to make those investments in HBCUs, we're going to make investments in small businesses. And so highly encourage you. Now is the perfect time to get involved, where you may have had some roadblocks or stumbling blocks in the past. where it was hard to get in, it was hard to work with the Air Force, it was hard to get in the door. And we have tried to remove some of those barriers to make it easier for you to get involved. We've lowered the proposal to now to align with what industry standards are. You know, no longer do we have 50 page proposals that you have to put together. You know, like who has time to do that? So, you know, 15-page technical report, pitch deck. Those are all ways that we're trying to make it make people want to work with the Air Force, because we need you to make our Air Force stronger.
Thanks, ma'am. Yeah, appreciate that.
Great insight, Perry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think I see one more question in the chat.
Yep, so I see it here. So the question was, will the Air Force Small Business Program allow small business researchers to carry out research and development on site in an HBCU research lab facility? Yes, 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 absolutely. We are looking, this is a great thing about the STTR program, is that it allows flexibility. So you can do, with STTR, 30% of the work has to do with the small business, another, or 40% with the small business, 30% with the academia, research institution, university. And so that leaves another 30% for you to do whatever it is that you need to do and where you need to get that work accomplished. So if that's at the research laboratory at the HBCU, then albeit. We also open it up to allowing you to come and do research in our laboratories or use our equipment and facilities. And that's just something you would look at and work with you will be assigned a technical point of contact, and that's just something that you'll work out with your program manager to say, hey, I think you have the best equipment for that. We have the best equipment for this, and this is how we are going to, help solve that Air Force problem.
Thanks for providing me that answer, Ms. Lumpkin, because I did some research at one of the local, in a sense, northern state HBCUs, Chicago State University, doing some hydrogen fuel cell research there. And so we already have existing equipment that we've worked in. And so I would like to opportunity to have a joint venture with both military as well as small business that we have. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. So I see Devin put my LinkedIn in the chat. Please connect with me. We have our special guest here in Devin's lap, and she's up and she's awake. And so definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. And also make sure you get registered for the BDPA National Conference and the Air Force HBCU Collider event. The link is there in the chat, and looking forward to hearing from everyone on the call today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for sharing with us today, Anissa. Yes, I have dropped all the links you need in the chat, except for the Air Force link itself. But yes, go connect with Anissa on LinkedIn. Definitely register for the conference. It's taking place in just about a month from now. It's going to be phenomenal. And especially make sure you attend the HBCU Collider as well. The recording of this session, as well as our previous talks, are always available on bdpa.org/tech and career talks. So this will be out here shortly. And then you can go back and check out some of our previous talks as well. But we thank you for joining. I saw Terry tried to hop in, but I don't think he was able to make it in, our national president. But I'm sure he's glad that you were here. I'm sure he'll be a part of the Collider as well. But thank you all for joining. Enjoy your day, enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. We've just really enjoyed our Air Force's partnership with BDPA, and just looking forward to our continued partnership in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you.